Hello. Today is November 22nd, which makes it day 52. Today, given that it's Sunday, I thought I would talk about my eating disorder and how my faith and how I was raised in the church played a part in it. It's something I've done some reflecting on in the past and have written stories about and shared. It was a really big transition, and that was a significant part of why I did an outpatient program when I was 25. Not with the church or not with a Christian ministry. So I remember when I was in high school, when I first started getting sick. I was a sick kid, and then the medication, and then the drugs. And I remember growing up in an evangelical Pentecostal church. My mom had gotten to a point where she wasn't sure what to do with my health, and so we asked for one of the deacons to pray over me afterwards. And he was, at this point they hadn't said I had an eating disorder, but they recognized that I was sick and with stomach problems and tremors, and at that point there was a possibility that I might have a brain tumor, which would have been the reason that was causing these things, and why I was on that Parkinson's medication that ultimately kind of messed me up. But I remember Pastor Steve holding my hands and anointing my forehead with oil and praying that the Spirit would heal me, and that claiming in the name of the Father that I was healed, and not being healed, needless to say. And at that point I really did believe. My faith was very strong in that tradition, and I did think that was very much possible. And so it made it even harder when it didn't happen, and there wasn't a change. And then as my eating disorder changed and really got noticeable, my freshman year of college, I remember going to a healing retreat with the Johnsons. They have this school of supernatural healing in Redding, California, and it was really popular among evangelicals at that time. And so they were known for a lot of prophetic giftings and Pentecostal giftings. And so I went to this retreat when I was in Bible college with my good girlfriend and roommate, and went through this fire tunnel, which is basically it's like a tunnel that you see at a sports game, but it's called a fire tunnel to represent the Spirit, and fire as a way of representing the healing power of the Spirit. And if you are looking for healing, then or prophetic word, then you're supposed to run through this tunnel. And it was common at these retreats for people to see things like gold dust falling from the sky or feathers, and there was a lot of healing or prophetic words. People would get called out and say, I feel like there's someone here with a knee problem, and someone would stand up and say that, or that has a pain in their back. And at that point I really wanted to be healed from whatever had originally been wrong with me, and at this point I really wanted to be healed from my eating disorder. Then it came and went, and I wasn't healed. And then I remember a week or two before I got married, I was 21, and I was working at a local coffee shop, and I remember praying so earnestly that God would heal me from my eating disorder, my bulimia, and my anorexia, because I didn't want to enter a relationship, a marriage, with this in my life. And at that point I really, no one had talked to me about it as a mental disorder or an addiction or something I was predisposed to genetically. And it felt very much like my sin and my problem and my weakness. And if I had been stronger, if I trusted God more, he would have healed me. And so the fact that I had been praying about it, journaling about it for, 3 or 4 years at that point, it was just because I hadn't had the right amount of faith, or the right kind of faith, or it hadn't been the right time. And at this point I was just kind of desperate for God to take it away before I got married. And I remember I felt like this, I had really had this like great, meaningful prayer time the night before, and then I had an opening shift. And I remember writing the next day, like, I've been healed. Like, I no longer feel burdened or compelled by these white chocolate raspberry scones. Like, I was able to get through the shift, and they just meant nothing to me. They just meant nothing, and they were just an inanimate object, and they held no power over me. And I remember telling my mom, like, kind of triumphantly, like, it's okay. Like, I've been healed now. I don't have an eating disorder anymore. And, like, I can get married, and I can be the perfect wife, and I'll, 21, and I figured it out. I, like, no longer have this eating disorder. It's been a handful of years, and, like, it's done now. And needless to say, that wasn't the case. I just felt okay for a few days. And I eventually struggled with it a lot during my marriage, figuring out how to manage it and to reconcile it. And then, coming to terms when I was 25, like, it wasn't about healing. It wasn't about anointing it away. It wasn't about having the right amount of faith. Like, it was about getting professional help. And it was about therapy and medication and group support and meeting with a dietitian, and about eating 3 meals a day, and having a better relationship with exercise and with how I express my feelings. And, I would say that it wasn't the church that healed me. It was a group of cussing, sexually promiscuous, outlier teenage girls that did. They helped me come to terms with who I was and the disorder that I had, and how to live a life of recovery.